As we all know, Game of Thrones contains adult content. This video discusses such content. What's in store for Tyrion Lannister in Season 8? Unfortunately, there's some repeated foreshadowing that paints a pretty gruesome picture. I might well be wrong about what I'm going to say in this video, and I sure hope so because it will be horrible if I'm right. In Season 5, Tyrion and Jorah are captured by a slaver who wants to sell Jorah. And here's what the slaver proposes to do with Tyrion. Quote, "Chop off his cock. We'll sell it for a fortune. A dwarf's cock has magic powers." Unquote. This isn't the first time, or the last, we hear about that sort of thing in regard to Tyrion. In Season 4, Oberyn Martell says that when he saw Tyrion as a baby, Cersei, quote, "pinched your little cock so hard I thought she might pull it off." Unquote. So we've seen two separate, direct references to Tyrion's cock coming off. And those two references are supplemented by many other references that are less direct, but that also involve Tyrion and the topic of castration. For example, in Season 7, Bronn says this to Jaime about Tyrion, quote, "Your brother has chosen to side with the cockless." Unquote. In Season 2, Cersei says, "So you know why Varys is so dangerous? Because he doesn't have a cock." Who does she say this to? Tyrion, of course. In fact, most of the discussion of Varys' status as a eunuch involves Tyrion. In the famous Blackwater episode in Season 2, Varys promises to someday tell Tyrion how he was cut, and in Season 3, Varys makes good on that promise, telling Tyrion the story. The writers could have Varys tell this story to any character, but they choose Tyrion. And then in Season 6, Tyrion says to Varys, "If I lost my cock, I'd drink all the time." The episode before that, Tyrion and Varys have this exchange. Varys, "I used to steal from people like you when I was a boy." Tyrion, "It's a good thing you're not a boy anymore, because you have no cock." That's a lot of repeated references to the same thing involving Tyrion. And we're not done yet. Way back in Season 1, here's what Tyrion tells Jon Snow about some of his new Night's Watch brothers-to-be. Quote, "Rapers. They were given a choice, no doubt, castration or the wall. Most choose the knife." Unquote. And in Season 6, notice the words Tyrion uses when he's telling the masters of Slaver's Bay to terminate their support for the Sons of the Harpy. Tyrion says, quote, "You will cut it off." Unquote. Let me repeat that. Tyrion says, "You will cut it off." You have to admit, that's an interesting word choice given everything we've been discussing about Tyrion. The writers even find a way to connect Tyrion with Theon Greyjoy's castration. When Tyrion sees Theon at the end of Season 6, Tyrion asks how things have been going for Theon, and says, "Not so well, I gather." This is an oblique reference, to be sure, but it's obvious what all the viewers are going to think of when Theon's misfortunes get mentioned. So, what does all this add up to? Maybe nothing. Castration is of course a major theme in the story, what with the Unsullied, and Varys, and Theon, and all these references to it. And this theme gets connected with Tyrion many times. That could be leading to Tyrion being castrated, but not necessarily. Still, we should consider it a major possibility. In Season 7, Tyrion says this to Daenerys about Cersei. "Oh, first she'd torture you in some horrible way, then she'd murder you." We know that Cersei has been torturing her victims before she kills them. She did that with Septa Unella, and she did that with Ilaria Sand. If she captured Tyrion, she might castrate him. Or there are other ways this gruesome fate could befall Tyrion. If it does, I think it would make some thematic sense in Tyrion's character arc. Tyrion has many positive qualities, especially in the TV show, but women are a weakness of his. He falls madly in love with them at first sight, and then his blind love leads to ruin, especially for the women. That's what happened with his wife Tysha, a story he tells in Season 1, and that's also what happened with Shae. And now, it's happening with Daenerys. Think about it. When Tyrion meets Daenerys, his first advice to her is to exile Jorah, a man who loves her. Later, Tyrion advises Dany to leave Daario Naharis behind in Essos when Dany crosses the sea to Westeros. Daario is another man who loves her. Then Tyrion dreams up the plan for Jon Snow and Jorah, two men who love Dany, to go north of the Wall on a mission that will separate them from Dany, at least temporarily, and perhaps permanently. And then, when Jorah and Jon are going to die on that mission, Tyrion begs Dany not to go save them. Tyrion is in love with Dany. He's been in love with her since he first saw her, just like with Tysha and just like with Shae. And consciously or not, it's polluting the advice he gives her. He always advises her to separate herself from every suitor except him. This is a huge problem. Just as Tyrion's blind love for Tysha and Shae had disastrous consequences, surely his blind love for Dany will also lead to disaster. So if Tyrion gets castrated in Season 8, it will make sense thematically. He'll pay for his greatest weakness by having the source of that weakness eliminated. And maybe in the eyes of the writers this will in some sense make him worthy of what I think his destiny will be, advising Sansa Stark as she presides over Westeros and seeks to build a better world after this one has been destroyed.